On August the 5th, my wife, Daphne, myself, and 7 other riders will be embarking on an awareness tour by bicycle from Kamloops, British Columbia for 550 kilometers over 7 days. And the hope of this tour is to bring awareness to the disease ALS. It's an incredibly debilitating disease, and it's currently one that needs a lot of research. And the wish is that the funds that we raise will come to find a cure, to help to find a cure. If any of you have known about this disease or have ever experienced someone with the disease, you'll know that the progression of the disease is particularly cruel. Over a period of years, usually 2 to 3, it gradually robs the individual of his ability to do even the most basic things. Probably most tragically, the ability to communicate. To say that more research is required, it really is an understatement. Because the current state-of-the-art treatment is a drug therapy that lengthens life by a mere 2 months. Now you might be wondering why it is that I'm interested in taking on this ride. The fact of the matter is that my father-in-law has been an ALS sufferer now for 17 years, which in ALS terms, it really is a lifetime. Because the average patient, the ALS sufferer, succumbs to the disease after 2 to 3 years, with less than 10% after 5 years or so. And this ride is our way of giving hope to the roughly 2,000 to 3,000 ALS sufferers currently in Canada, including my father-in-law, Bernie. It's a way of doing something, giving something back, to do something positive in the face of such a grim diagnosis.
Excuse me, just want to grab the newspapers out of here.
Sure.
It's okay, sorry about that.
No problem. And while I'd like to tell you all about the ride, the ALS ride, and to tell you about some of the wonderful events that are happening leading up to the ride, and to talk about some of the great ALS research that's going on in BC, I mean, my job today really is to give you a bit of history, bring history to life. And so I thought, to that end, one of the things I'd like to do would be to tell you about one of the most famous ALS sufferers of all time, baseball legend Lou Gehrig. Now, you might be excused for thinking that Lou was disadvantaged from the very beginning. I mean, after all, he was born into a family of 4 kids. He was the youngest of 4, and he was the only child who actually survived to adulthood. His father was poor, his mother was poor. His mother really was the stalwart of the family. I mean, she helped to make ends meet by doing laundry for all of the neighbors, and she really wanted Lou to have the benefits of a college education. She saw the college education as a way to get out of the cycle of poverty. And she saw a natural athletic ability in Lou, so she really encouraged him to pursue an athletic career and to see if he could get a scholarship to one of the colleges. And he actually did that. He got a scholarship to Columbia University, but not a baseball scholarship. It was actually a football scholarship. And I can't help but think that Lou was probably one of these freaks of nature who would probably be good at any athletic endeavor that he possibly could have set his mind to. And while he was at college, he was playing a game for the Columbia Nines, and that's when he got the, when he caught the eye of a baseball scout. And he was offered a position, a starting position, on the lineup of the New York Yankees, right out of college. And he was also given a $1,500 signing bonus, which I imagine, given Lou's basic, his past, was probably a real princely sum at the time. I think it actually amounted to something like $45,000 or $50,000 today. But here's a kid, who's at college, probably with not enough pocket change to go out and get himself a meal if he really wanted to. And while he was at college, while he was in the Yankees, it was during the 1920s and the 30s, and if you recall, that was when Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig dominated. In fact, I think they were actually on the same team. And they rewrote the record book over and over and over again. It really was a golden year for baseball. And in fact, in one game, he actually hit 4 home runs in a professional game. It had never been done before. But in spite of all of his successes, he really was quite a humble person. And a baseball reporter, probably thinking to stir the pot, asked him, well, what is it like playing in the shadow of the great Babe Ruth? Well, Lou was no slouch. But rather than belittling Babe's achievements, or rather than touting his own, he simply said, the babe does cast a really wide shadow, and actually, I don't mind. It gives me a lot of room to hide and to maneuver. In the late 1930s, the wheels came off the cart. Lou's baseball averages, which were once between 500 and 600 he used to bat, were now way below 300. Felt like he was an anchor on the team. And his fellow teammates noticed that there was something a little bit different. He used to golf with golf cleats, and now he was wearing tennis shoes, and he was sort of shuffling from hole to hole. And in one game it came to a head. The pitcher pitched him a very easy pitch, and he hit it back right to the pitcher and didn't have the strength to make it to first base. And it was then when he resigned from the game, and his streak of 2,130 games that he played consecutively came to an end. Can you imagine having an employee who was at your office 2,130, regardless of whether you had a cold or not? This guy had character. 2 months later, at the Mayo Clinic, he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And it robbed him of his ability to play the game that he loved so much, and of the American people of one of the baseball greats of all time. July the 4th, 1938, he bade farewell to all of his friends at Yankee Stadium. 62,000 people came out to see him. And on that day, during the press conference, he looked out at the crowd and he said that he was the luckiest person on the face of the earth. That was his words. Imagine that. Here's a fellow that had just been given the cruelest of cruel diagnosis, and all he could think about was the good that had befallen him in the previous years. I want what he has for breakfast. In a short 1 year, 11 months later, he passed away with his wife at his bedside. So, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, people ask me, why are you riding? I say, how can you not? It's really time for it here. Mr. Toastmaster.